All right, Miss Sheena Allen. We want to have a good conversation. We're just gonna chill.
All right, I'm with
We're
it.
just gonna chill. You seem real chill already, so
No
just
needing
pretend we
being,
had two drinks. And
Okay.
we just you a social drinker. Let's just drink and chop it up about
Two
startups.
nice martinis
Is
with,
okay.
sugar
What's your
around the
drink? What's your
brim.
drink? That's where we'll start then.
You know what
What's your drink?
I love Grateful Deads.
Okay, what's in that? I don't even
You've
know.
never had a Grateful
Nah,
Dead?
what's in that?
You gotta Google it. I'm not even gonna tell you.
What?
It builds up the.
It builds up this. Okay.
You just gotta
All
try
right,
it.
I'll
I
try
tell
it
you
out.
what, Grateful Dead's.
Is it white liquor or dark
It's
liquor?
that drink. It's clear,
Okay.
but it's that drink where like when you drink it, you feel like you're drinking juice. So it's
Oh,
that drink that like everybody feels like, oh, this ain't nothing. I'm good. So
and
they keep
then
drinking them. They keep drinking them, and
and
then by the
then
time they try to stand up after like the third one,
you wasted. That's what you
done.
do. No, I'm good. Never mind. I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that. So what brings you to the DC area?
Meetings,
Meetings.
meetings,
Meeting.
Capway meetings, life meetings. Just trying to be a unicorn, a Black Panther, all in one.
Okay. That's what's good. Talk about the Black Panther. What's going on?
So Black Panthers is like Black Power. It's like it's a special. And the unicorn, it's also special. So I mean, I feel
Right.
like if you can mix them,
If you could mix
that's
them,
one hell of a mix.
that is a hell of a mix. I don't want to get too deep into that because I feel like you
I
really
should
about
call
to
a
really
black
come off.
unicorn, huh?
Yes, Black Unicorn is like.
I like that.
Is there a Black Unicorn? I think the Black Unicorn right now would probably be Rodney Williams. What he's doing with Listener, maybe. That's the closest I can think
Rodney's
of.
maybe Tristan. Well,
Tristan
But
is
he's not really.
it's
That's more of
it's,
like products, though.
but I guess I consider products to be tech. But
I
I don't
mean,
know if he's
Bevel is
doing the
dope,
engineering.
though.
Bevel is dope. I have one.
Bevel is
Shout
dope.
out to Bevel. Shout out to Tristan. Hopefully we can get him on the show.
But I love what Rodney is doing.
Rodney's doing something. That's tech.
Um, the
That's
guy who
dope.
does the hair, Maven, he's doing really
Oh,
well.
right,
So
right.
he's pretty dope. Females, Morgan announced her race today. Morgan from Blavity.
Oh, right.
So she did a Series
6.5.
A.
I saw that in TechCrunch earlier today.
Jessica Matthews from Uncharted Play. She
Oh,
raised I think
wow.
$7 million in her last round.
I feel like, what's the young lady from Howard that
Jewel.
Jewel?
Huge
She made
fan of
Part Pick.
Jewel.
Like I want to think Amazon. Did Amazon buy her?
Yeah, she was acquired by Amazon.
Yeah, I saw that maybe this week, maybe
Side
Wednesday.
note, her lead engineer is a female, a black female from
Really?
Mississippi. So I just want to make sure I throw it
Wow.
out there.
So
But
she-
Jewel, huge fan of Jewel.
Jewel. She's dope.
She is. And
She's
she's so
super dope.
humble. She's so
That's really
cool.
hard to find at that level of success
Yeah.
to maintain the humility, which I think you've done.
Well, I'm from the deep south where like if you like get out of hand, your grandmother gave you like that
The
back slap.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody never witnessed that.
Oh, not only I was the first hand witness of the backslap
See, yeah.
all day. So
My granny used to tell me, she said, this is even way before I did any of this. My granny used to always say, the higher up you go on your horse, the harder the fall.
wow.
See?
Well, you're getting pretty high up there. I want to talk a little bit about that Mississippi thing too, though. I think
Okay.
that's really big, right? Like when I think of Mississippi, I think of the civil rights movement, and before that, all the things that we have seen on some of the documentaries.
Mississippi burning.
Yes, the movies and just,
yeah.
of course, Emmett Till and things of that nature.
Unfortunately.
You from Terry, right?
I'm Terry.
Which, in my research, I found only has like a population of like 1,100 or less.
Yes.
I was like, what?
See,
Like,
people don't go to Terry, they pass through Terry.
Ah.
If you blink and you're like, oh,
You done?
I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
That's it.
So what's this like growing up in such a small town?
everybody knows everybody, including everybody's business.
Right. Which you keep yours on the low too.
I am very private.
You on the low.
I'm a very private person.
So I can tell. I was like, wow. So that must be where that comes from.
I'm a very private person. I let people in to some degree, But I think when you're trying to do the things that I'm doing, like Morgan or Jewel or some of the other amazing people that are doing in tech, especially minorities, there's so much we have to give because we're fighting so much that you
Right.
want to be able to hold on to something. And
Yeah.
so I'm a
For
very
sure.
private person. But to be honest, I've always been private, so let me not lie. But everybody knows everybody. You're probably related for the most part to somebody.
Wow.
And if you're not related to them, there's a good chance you just might marry them or date somebody within the area. I'll be honest, the downside to it is a lot of people where I grew up were very closed-minded.
Right.
So that was probably a negative to growing up in such a small town.
I was looking at it and I was like, man, it looks like the vast majority, like over half the population is either from like 25 to 44 and older,
Yeah.
right? So, but like from 18 to 24, it's like only like 5%. So I was like, they must go off to college or it's pretty close to Jackson, right?
Yeah. So it's people move to either like Byram or Jackson,
Right.
or they leave. So Jackson, my number is probably gonna be off some, but I believe Jackson, Mississippi, which is the capital
Right.
of Mississippi, Terry is literally the town over.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that Jackson, Mississippi, lost the most millennials of any capital city in 2017.
Really?
Which is not, it's not hard to believe, but I believe so. I'm like 99% sure on that one.
Wow.
Every chance I get, I go back home because I know how important family is.
How has that, if at all, impacted your entrepreneurial journey? Because I know I've seen on social media what you have released that you're like a self-proclaimed daddy's girl,
Yes.
right? So how did your parents take it when you were like, I'm going to pursue entrepreneurship full time? Were they big on education? Like, what was you went to Southern
Well,
Miss, right?
my parents, I don't know if you saw my tweet the other day. It was funny. It kind of caused a very interesting Twitter conversation where I spoke of how when I speak to high school students, I tell them that college is not for everybody.
Right.
And a lot of times people
Right.
don't really agree with that.
I did see that.
It caused a really interesting debate on Twitter. But
Why do you feel that way? Let's put it out there, because I actually agree with you, by the way, but I want to hear your
there's
perspective.
too many people out here with all this debt, and they're working 25K, 30K jobs. Why are you in $50,000 worth of debt? I feel like society has told us the only way you're going to be successful, you have to go to college.
Right.
That is complete BS.
Completely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. College, if you're a doctor, please go to college. I
Right.
need you to go to school.
For sure. If you're building bridges,
Exactly. I need
definitely
you to go
get
to
that
school.
engineering degree, right?
But I don't. College is not the only pathway to success, and I feel like
Yeah.
we've been conditioned to believe that, and that's
Yeah.
just not true. Like there's trade schools, community college is okay for some people. You don't have to
Right.
go to a 4-year university.
Right.
If you're trying to pick up a trade or you want to do an apprenticeship or you want to go intern, because ain't no such thing as an entry level job anymore anyway.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of pathways. I do think college is for some people. I'm a college grad.
Right.
I think college is for some people. I just think it's not the only answer, and I think we condition people to believe that's the only answer.
So did your parents like?
My parents were actually shocked. So I actually wanted to drop out of college.
Oh, wow.
I finished.
Didn't everybody? I think everybody that went to college wanted to drop out at some point. You stay on social media.
Yeah.
You don't do a lot of posting, but you definitely be on social media watching what we all do.
Social media is 100% the moneymaker now.
Right.
I think social media is fake, to be quite honest.
For sure.
I think it's very smoke and mirrors. Not all of it, but I think for the most part it's smoke and mirrors. But
That's why that's one of the reasons why I want to do this. I want to have real conversations about how people got to where they are. And I don't think that it's funny. It's like a double-edged sword. Like, if you real on social media, they be like, oh, bro, that's TMI. And then if you aren't real, then they say, man, social media is fake. So it's like finding that balance is really difficult.
I think the funniest thing is when like you know somebody and like they post stuff and you be like, what? But I especially as entrepreneurs, it's like if you don't post enough, you don't have a social presence, you fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
But then you post too much, and it's like, oh, they cocky or they, whatever.
Right.
Whatever. So it is definitely like a fine balance. But I will say that I think social media has aspiring entrepreneurs thinking that entrepreneurship is one thing, and it's not. It looks really fun on social media. It looks real
Yet
fun.
another reason why we're doing this, right?
Like,
Because it's
you know,
hard work.
I even tweeted today. I was like, my family and friends think I'm on like a constant nonstop vacation because I'm traveling all the time.
And you out here begging for money, trying to get somebody to invest.
I hate planes. Most time when I'm out somewhere, I'm eating by myself, so I'm lonely half of the time. Like it's not. It's social media makes it
Entrepreneurship
look
is like
really,
one of the loneliest
really
things
fun.
ever.
It looks
Yeah, but
really
it makes
great.
it like it's the hot thing to do right now.
Yeah. It's like everybody wants to put startup founder or CEO in their bio. I'm like, how many people have you hired? Did you pay taxes? Are you incorporated? Like it's more than just putting
Right.
some in your bio, and it's not. If I've never been an entrepreneur who didn't say I've cried. I stayed up all night. I won't throw towel in. I've questioned God. I've questioned myself. I mean, it's probably one of the most. You have to be mentally strong to be an entrepreneur.
I tell people all the time it's a faith journey, and because essentially what you're saying is by definition faith, right? Like because you're saying this thing that doesn't exist right now, right, is going to be and it's going to be successful, right? And I'm hopefully going to feed my family with it.
Exactly.
Right? So, like, seeing things as that are not as though they are, that's really a faith journey. And that's the essential for innovation and entrepreneurship. And I don't understand why somebody would get in it if they don't
Exactly.
understand that if your faith's not strong, you can't get there.
It looks real cool on social media. That's why.
And they think they're going to be rich fast.
Yes. It takes. I mean, I don't know if you saw with the young lady from New Orleans raised $2 million.
For
For a tech company, and it's so funny because I don't know her like that. I know her well enough to talk to her, and truth is, yes, she raised $2 million, and yes, she made the Shade Room, and she gets some
Right.
press now. It took her 9 years of blood, sweat, and tears to get there.
wow, 9 years. You've been playing with a lot of people's brains with 2 million downloads. How
3
did
million.
you pull? We had 3 million?
3 million.
Wow, excuse me. It was like, that was yesterday. 2 million was yesterday. My bad. So, how did you connect the film, the marketing, the psychology to these apps? And what made you want to do apps? That's like, how did you get there? Let's
Well,
walk us through that.
What's so crazy is I've always loved computers. Always. Even
Okay.
being in my little country town, I always loved computers. The thing that when I first started Sheena Allen Apps, which was my senior year of college, it was actually not my first step into tech.
Okay.
My first step into tech was I came up with this idea for a social networking website. This is back before social networking was like huge. Like Facebook
Okay.
was out and Facebook was pretty popular, but not even.
Where it
This was
is
like
now.
2007. Mind
Oh,
you,
okay.
Facebook came out 2004.
Right.
So it was still early. So it wasn't like how it is now where there's a social network for everything. It
For
was
sure.
very, very early. And I came up with this idea. It was called Eyes on Central.
Okay.
I had this thing for this social network, and this was my freshman year of college.
Okay.
Freshman year of college, and I went to my parents. I said, "Hey, I'm
Your freshman year,
freshman year of college."
and you thought you were going to drop out. I know they
and
went crazy.
I with my parents. I was like, "Listen, I don't want to do college. I got this idea for this tech platform. Like, I want to do this." And my dad was against it. My dad is traditional. He's Southern. It's like, you got this,
Hard
GPA.
work.
You done all
Right.
this. Like, you got this scholarship. Like, you are going to school. And I went to my mom. I was like, Mom, like, I'm telling you, like, this is gonna blow.
It's
Like,
the future.
This is it. And so my mom actually introduced me to some developers in Dallas.
How did your mom know developers?
So my mom does business analyst work.
Gotcha, so she knew.
She asked some people, then they introduced to
Wow.
this. And so I went out there, and they were some guys from India. So they weren't from here, but they had their company was here in the U.S.
Okay.
Well, their headquarters was in the U.S. They also had offices overseas, and it just didn't work out. The issue was they made me an offer, and I turned it down. I was 19, and
They made you an offer for the app?
they made me an offer, and I turned it
Wow.
down. The offer, pretty much in the end, the offer would have gave them about 55%.
Okay.
And they made the offer. We went home. We went back to the hotel that night. I asked my mom. I said, Mom, what should I do? And even at 19, she said, in the end, you either gonna like your decision or you're gonna regret it. But you're not gonna regret it because of me. So
Right.
you decide.
You decide.
And the next
That's what's
day,
good.
we went to the office. He said, "You make your decision." I walked away.
Was it a good offer? Looking back on it,
Looking back on, I should have taken it.
gotcha.
I should have taken.
How did you use that to
would
drive
have, even though I wouldn't have control over it. I probably still could have still walked away at 22, 23 and been a millionaire.
you? Oh wow, that's tough.
But I wasn't looking at it like at the
Right.
time. I'm 19. I'm like, I'm not giving you control of what I've
Right.
created.
Right.
But at the time, I
sure.
wasn't smart enough to understand that 100% of zero
It's zero.
is zero.
Absolutely.
So lesson learned.
Absolutely. We definitely got to get into Catway. We definitely got to get into what Capway is. Tell us what it is, what you're doing.
Yeah,
and
so
I'll ask some questions around that.
Capway is a mobile-first platform. We do have a website. We're working on some other things, but it's mobile-first. We are fintech, so financial technology, but we focus on unbanked, underbanked, and working poor millennials. So unbanked, people who have no bank account. Underbanked, they probably have a bank account, but they still don't have what they need to meet. So they might have they might have a bank at a community bank, but the community bank may not have everything they need to satisfy all their financial needs.
Right.
And then the working poor mean that you live paycheck to paycheck. So those are the ones we work on. And once again, specifically, we target millennials. And for us, it's about changing the dynamic of the financial ecosystem. And so I always tell people that Capway is an untraditional financial ecosystem because of the traditional financial system has failed us.
How so?
You see, what's his name? Killer Mike.
Right.
You see Killer Mike get on TV. You see T.I. get on TV. Now I was like, oh, the problem is we got to bank black. We got to bank black.
Right. How do you feel about that?
Bullshit.
How is that bullshit?
Here's the thing. The largest black-owned bank has
One United.
$650 million in assets.
Right. Meanwhile,
How much money Jay-Z got?
dang, more than the largest black-owned bank. That's wild. Like, I was reading the other day, the top 4 banks, like J.P. Morgan has almost $2 trillion in assets.
We not even the same
We
ball
not
game.
even, that's not the
So
same.
we got an M and we got a T. We got a B. We not even in the middle.
It's completely different.
Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with banking black.
Right.
But I think for you to say your number one black-owned bank has $650 million in assets, banking black was supposed to be about banking black and that bank is giving back to the community.
For sure.
If I got $650 million in assets and by 2040, black's going to be the majority,
Right.
there's nothing I can do for my community with only $650 million.
Do you think, though, that banking black is more than just having deposit accounts, but also having your mortgage, having your car note, having your student loans, having some of the credit cards, basically giving them the things that we give to the Bank of America?
100%.
Right.
So when I say
Right.
it's BS, it's not because I don't think we should bank black. I
Right.
think we should,
Right.
bank more with blacks. What I'm saying is, as a whole, that's something we have to do as a whole.
Right.
And we're not doing that as a whole. I mean,
Nah.
T.I. says, and then Killer Mike says, and you get a few people
Because
that
it's
go
emotional.
Yeah, they get over and switch
Yeah.
to, and it's like cool for a minute. But the truth is, it's cool for like right now. But let's look at just the history of banking black.
Right.
It has not changed the black community.
Well,
at
we
all.
didn't actually consistently do it because once the fallacy of integration came into play, then there was seemingly no need to continue to do it, right? And I was just posting something earlier today about how what Farrakhan was talking about, and I'm not a huge Farrakhan fan, but some stuff he said is like 1,000. Like, we can integration in my opinion, never happened, right? It's like fallacious, right? Like, it's the perception of integration, right? But as you know, as an app developer, if I put a Linux server and a Windows server and a Mac in a room, that don't make them integrated, right? That just means they all in the same room together, right? So in order to make them integrated, we have to actually make adjustments on each one of those boxes. Like, they all have to work with some other hub, and they all come together and make adjustments. Yep. But it can't just be everybody making adjustments to Windows or Mac or one or the other, right? So that's assimilation, not integration. So I think that the issue becomes, how do we, if integration is a goal, then how do we actually achieve that? But in the meantime, make it real integration. And that means that we have to have ownership of our own
Right.
things and be consistent in that. And
Well,
I don't think there's a way to be
I
consistent.
think that was what was important for Capway. So one thing I tell people,
Right.
especially when it comes to minorities, black, brown, whatever the case, we always like, oh my gosh, finally we're doing this, and I see this person over here doing this. The problem has been as minorities, we've never had a problem with creating.
No.
That peanut butter that you're eating.
We created
it. That ironing
Right.
board.
We created, yes.
Stoplight. Like we've never had a problem creating.
Wow.
We've had a problem with owning.
That's big.
Creating and owning two
That's
different
big,
things.
too.
We've created a whole bunch of shit. We
But
created
don't
pop
own
culture,
shit.
but we don't own it. I was like your ideal like high school student. So I was
Okay.
like student council president. I was Beta Club, National Honor Society. I was, I played volleyball. I was captain of the basketball team.
Oh, wow.
I was,
You got handles?
I,
Stop playing.
hey, I was.
We got a ball. We keep a ball. We
Let's
can go
go.
right
We
now.
get done with this. I'm ready.
Okay.
I actually whooped somebody the other day in some cold Huns. I'm telling you. I'm
Get outta
good.
here.
It doesn't matter.
Get
I'm
outta
from the
here.
country. We play with no socks and shoes, so I'm good.
I'm weak.
But I was like your ideal. I graduated with almost a 5.0 GPA
From high school.
from high school, and I got to college, and I was just like, this ain't the groove. Like I just don't
Really?
want to do this.
And it was Southern Miss, right?
It was Southern Miss. I double majored in
And?
psychology and film. Film was like my creative outlet. I've always been big in the arts.
Okay.
So I originally wasn't going to go to college because I was going to go into arts.
Okay.
I'm really big on drawing and painting.
So what have you drawn? I don't see any of that on
Anything and
social
everything.
media.
Exactly. Everything
Man,
around.
come on, you gotta let us in. You gotta let us in.
Crazy enough, my first publication was in a Word Up magazine. I drew
The Word Up
Marion.
magazine?
Yeah, I drew a Marion. And
Oh,
it
we
made
gotta
the Word Up
find. We have to
magazine.
get a picture of that.
The Word Up. Oh my God, they stopped that circulation. High school.
The internet is.
Yeah, I killed it. But my first magazine was actually being in the magazine was an art piece I did. I drew a Mario back. He's in B2K, and it made Word Up.
Wow. So is that gonna be like your next career, or is that
I
something
want to
you
get back.
do?
I want to get back deep into the art. So I want to get back into drawing, painting. I want to get back into writing and directing films.
Okay.
So I majored in film. It was still my creative outlet, and then my major in psychology was actually still part of a creative outlet. I didn't major in psychology for the purpose of, sitting down and listening to somebody's problems every day,
Right.
because that shit is boring.
So what was your vision?
It was more of the mixing of marketing and psychology, so more of like IL psychology
Right.
and different aspects of that. So I want to be the person that said Home Depot is going to be orange because it
Gotcha.
makes the brain do this.
Certain things.
Or we're going to, there's a reason that everything at the counter is under $5. That's all psychology.
Right.
So I was my time in psychology was definitely not to become a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Right.
It was more of how can I play with your brain through marketing so that I can get you to buy something or sell you something or make you understand something.
That's a great segue because you've been playing with a lot of people's brains with 2 million downloads. How
3
did
million.
you pull? We had 3 million?
3 million.
Wow, excuse me. It was like, that was yesterday. 2 million was yesterday. My bad. How was someone like yourself who had a 5.0, just about GPA, went to school on scholarship, probably at a time when college was not, the price of education was not as exorbitant as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
How are you able to identify with that demographic?
It wasn't about even the school time. Because once again, let me say this. So our partnerships, not just schools, is financial institutions, it's community organizations, it's cities, it's a range. So
Right.
it's not just schools. But as far as my identification to the market and what made me get into this business, it was actually being from Terry. It was being from Terry, Mississippi. So Terry, Mississippi is actually considered an impoverished area. So,
Okay.
if you Google it, it's considered an impoverished area. I came from a 2-parent home. Both my parents had good jobs. So for me to sit up here and lie and be like, oh, I grew up poor, I'd be lying to you.
Right.
I did not grow up poor. I didn't grow up, rich, but
Right.
I definitely didn't grow up poor. But Terry and stuff is an impoverished area. And my great-grandmother never had a bank account. My grandmother never had a bank account. I have a sister right now who's 40. She's never had a bank account. So I know that world very well.
Gotcha.
The difference in like me and Russell Simmons, for an example, and I love Russ, by the way. I'm a Russell Simmons fan. But I remember when he started Rush Card and they kind of asked him what made him start Rush Card.
Right.
And I think his response to some degree was that he was like in New York and he drove by this check cashing place, like the line was very long or something like that. Like a story somewhere in there. And so he's like, what's the difference in like you and Russell? Russell did Rush Card. Like, is your story similar? Like, no, like I literally would drive my grandmother to the check cashing place.
Right. You experienced
Our
it
stores are not
firsthand.
the same.
Right. Right.
Our stores are nowhere near the same.
Right.
People in my community cash their check at the local convenience store. Like,
Wow.
that's where I grew up.
I read, I mean, that it's like 59% black.
Yes.
Terry is.
We have one bank, and it's not even a large bank. It's like a little credit union.
Wow.
So essentially, Terry is a banking desert.
So I saw Arlen, you know Arlen, right?
One of our investors,
One of the investors, right? She just raised like 25,
30 million.
30 million, right? And then I saw the folks that did the hair, what's the hair
Shea
product?
Moisture.
Yeah, Shea Moisture. They just raised $100 million fund, right? I think they announced it at Essence or something. Both of them for, I hate this term, women of color, whatever that means, right? And so, and I say to myself, man, I've gone to school, I've worked hard, I have ideas. Who is raising money for black men, right? And I think that, how you feel about the juxtaposition of black men and black women in tech and how it seems as if what's in vogue right now, which I celebrate those things. It's not like, oh man, why are you raising money for women? We should be doing that. But why, in your opinion, why is it just women? First of all, women are starting more businesses than more educated. So let me just say that, and particularly black women. But I also know a lot of other black brothers that are trying to do their thing, right? So I'm just trying to figure out, do you think it's not worthwhile? Like, what's going on in the space?
You have to look at, especially when it comes to investing, you look at numbers.
Yeah.
And number says that black women receive less than 1%.
As black people, but black women are less than black men.
Yes.
And everybody, right?
Yes.
Black men are not balling in a space either.
Not balling. But even if you said black men are receiving 5%, a black woman has historically, since numbers have been done, has received 0.02%. Not even a whole 1%.
Nah, not even. Like black people are receiving like 1 in 10,000. Because first of all, only like 1% of any, regardless of race, regardless of gender, of any sort is going to get venture back.
Right.
Right. And what's happening is only 1% of that 1% is black. Mm-hmm. And then when it's woman, it's less than that. Right? So it's like, we're not like better off as men. We're black men, I should say. Excuse me.
Well, I mean,
right?
And also you look at this. You look at, there's only been roughly 30 to 40, I don't know the exact number. Some women don't want to be known if they've raised over $1 million. But you look at the 30 or 40 black women who has raised over $1 million.
Right.
You have Jewel, who has acquisition. You have, we've probably had 5 acquisitions at this point.
Right.
So you got to think, if there's only 30 black women who's raised $1 million, and
20% of them have had an acquisition. I mean, it's good. But the other side of that is they actually raised funding, so they had a chance to get to that point. Like,
but look how hard it took them. That's the point, though. If you take Arlen, who says over the next 3 years, 5 years, I don't know her term. If over the next 3 years, I'm going to make sure 30 black women get $1 million each. So if it took
that's
us
not even
10
a
years
lot of money, right? Yeah.
to get to 30 women, and we had 5 acquisitions. Imagine what's going to happen in the next 3 years if you give 30 additional black women $1 million.
No, I definitely don't want to come off like I'm hating on black women or on what Arlen and the guy's doing. Like, I want to come off like,
Black girl magic is a thing.
Black girl magic, I ain't hating on none of it. Like, it's all good. I'm just like, I just know as a black man, like, first of all, I'm tired of like black men. Black men, we got to step up. There's no question about it and what we're doing. But also, there are men. Let's talk about the men who have stepped up, right? Okay. And let's find ways to invest in them. But last question, like, So is this Series A for you, or is this
Seed.
your seed round?
Yeah, it's our seed round.
So how many investors do you have?
In our pre-seed round, we have 5 investors.
Got you. And can you talk about how much you raised?
Nah.
You can't. Okay. Gotcha. Are you one of those women that doesn't talk about it? I believe that you one of the 30 that raised $1 million but didn't talk.
No, I haven't raised $1 million. But also, one thing, and she's very vocal about this, Jewel. One thing that I agree with her on is I do feel like that the narrative needs to change.
Yeah.
And when I say that, raising $1 million is great. Great milestone to reach. As Black women, we work hard, we fight hard, we cry. I get it. Great milestone. But I don't want every time a publication calls me to say, how much money have you raised?
Right.
Ask me, what's your traction looking like?
Right.
What's your revenue looking like?
Right.
I care about that because if I raise $1 million,
right.
but I run through it, it don't matter. But I don't care if I raise $10, but if my revenue is $2 million, I'm feeding 10 people.
Right.
That matters.
That matters. No, respect. Like, I think we definitely have gotten a story.
Yeah, the narrative needs to change.
It's all about raising how much you raise, but a lot of that is to generate FOMO, right?
Yes.
Right, so that you can continue to raise.
And I'll say this. I know we're about to wrap it up.
FOMO is fear of missing out, by the way.
This is why we need to change the narrative. If raising money takes time,
For sure.
It's stressful. It takes time. But the thing about every time you raise money, you're diluted. Your percentage is going down,
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
down. You have these people who come in and they raise all this money because FOMO. They want to raise money. They want to say, I raised $1 million. I raised whatever amount. You raise all this money and then just say, great, and in 3 years you sell, you get acquired. Do you know how many people have gotten acquired for $100 million and the founder walked away with $2 or $3 million?
$3 million. Yeah, that just happened.
Exactly.
That just happened.
So it's like, why do we have a narrative of like, how much did you raise just so I can go out and raise so I can get on the front cover of, a magazine or people can praise me versus if I can I tell people all the time, bootstrap as long as you can.
Yeah,
Sheena
for sure.
Allen apps is completely bootstrapped. So right now, if I wanted to go revamp Sheena Allen apps and say, I'll sell it for $500,000. Guess what? That $500,000 is going to my pocket.
Right.
Versus I raise $3 million and I'm diluted 50%. By the time I pay investors and pay taxes,
You still got the same $500,000. You haven't done a thing.
what have I done?
On some level, I think it helps traction when you in the paper, when you in publications, right? Which is another reason we want to do this, right? Because we want to make sure that Black founders are getting exposed.
If you're raising for scale, like
Yeah.
I don't. That's one thing. I'm not part of the company, but me more knowing like somebody like Morgan, like I know that
Right.
money she raises is a scale. So
Right.
she gonna turn that 6.5, trying to turn it to 65 million.
For
Like
sure.
So
Because they're looking for 10X.
exactly.
Right.
So I think if you
And it was Google Ventures, right?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was I don't know. But the point is if you're taking on money to do a big scale, I think you should raise.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're raising for the sake of raising,
Then
like some people do,
For sure.
it's why.
No point in it. I always say, like, particularly for us, like, we need to I always try to find non-traditional way to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I have an idea, the ideas that I'm working on right now, I'm raising capital through another business, right? Venture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that generates me revenue. And then I use some of that money to generate, to invest in the other things I want to do. So I feel like we just need, I'm with you. I think the dilution is bad, but I also think early on, you don't want to take on people who don't see the vision.
Oh, 100%.
So you want to make sure you can get to a point where you have traction. First of all, because that ended up traction, like sales, it covers a multitude of sins, right? So if you can get traction, then that changes the narrative when you're out pitching,
Yeah.
right? And then in some ways pitching you. So
I say it's so many, like you said, it's so many different options of fundraising. You still have your traditional VC angel round,
Right.
which you have equity crowdfunding. You have, working through another business.
Right.
You have, it's so many ways outside of I have to
Pitch
go.
contest.
Yeah, it's a lot of different ways to raise. And I think but I just want to make it where people just don't get discouraged because they haven't raised. And don't get me wrong, I say that because I've been someone who's been discouraged because I haven't been able to raise.
Right.
And the only thing it's going to do is like make it worse. I think we have this issue of we see somebody else in the paper and they raise money, and it's like, well, what am I doing wrong, or why can't I raise? And truth is, it's okay to feel that way. We're human,
Right.
We're all gonna feel that way to some degree.
It's hard
but
because it is a competition. It feels like a competition.
right, and it shouldn't be,
Right.
because in the end, one win is one win added to the tally, and that's gonna
If
that
you
moves the
win,
needle.
hopefully it's easier for me to raise.
It moves the needle.
I'm hoping Rodney Williams makes it easier for the rest of us brothers, man. Let's pivot a little bit into like what you're doing now
Okay.
and how like all this stuff leads you up to. Because well, first let's talk a little bit about the Dublin like pick split, orange snap, words on picks, like Twit Booth. This is your game now, right? Like
Yes.
so you own the App Store, and we are constantly downloading your stuff.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about, though, just briefly about those apps, how you came up with the idea, and then segue us into like where you are now and what you're doing while you're here in DC.
Every app that I did under the Sheena Allen apps brand came from random ideas. Honestly, it was Dublin
Yes.
came from the idea of one of my friends, Makia, was doing a photo shoot for, I don't know if she was doing it for college or for a project in college. But anyway, she was playing basketball against herself. It was like the dopest photo I had ever seen.
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna make an app and do that. She's like, no, you're not. I was like, yes, I am. Like, it was like the dopest photo, but it was done in Photoshop, of course.
Of course.
I was like, I'm gonna create an app and do it. Quickly on Twit Booth. Twit Booth came about. Instagram was just kind of becoming a thing.
Right.
And that's when Twitter was still big. Like,
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? What if we also had an option where we can look at strictly media on Twitter versus tweets? And so that's how Twit Booth came about. True story. Still have the email. Twitter hit me up and was like, you're infringing on our name, so you have to put Twit Booth for Twitter, blah, blah, blah. This is before they ever had their media tab. It was strictly tweets. About 3 months later, maybe 6 months later, they came out with the media tab.
That's crazy. So like, did they offer you? See, this is the problem that I have with the industry, and I don't want to get on. We about to go back to this Black Panther thing, right? But let's be real. Like, why, if we have a pipeline problem, right, and that's the issue, why didn't they say, hey, why don't you come and work with us or be a part of our Twitter labs where we come up with the next greatest thing for the platform? Like, why is it such a problem in that space? What's your take on that?
I mean, I hate putting stuff on color. I'm actually one of those people who I think we're completely oversensitive right about now these days.
For sure.
So I don't put things on color, but what I will say is when you had that 14-year-old kid, 15-year-old kid come with Oculus, Mark Zuckerberg could have easily been like, we're Facebook. We can go do that same thing ourselves.
Right.
He didn't do that. He
Right.
paid that man.
He paid him.
But when you have these kids out here that I know of that are 14, 15, even 20, 25, doing great stuff, nobody says, I'm going to pay you, I'm going to bring you on. They just go and duplicate it.
They go and duplicate it.
Why? I mean, honestly, I can't tell you why, but I'm just telling you that's the reality of the situation that we are in as a whole.
So what are the top three, and I definitely want to get to, but this is going so well, like, what are the top three issues you see in the startup ecosystem, or in tech, particularly in tech?
They don't want to give us money. I think they know if they give us money, we're going to completely dominate. I'm just being honest. I think they're scared to give us money because if we can do what we've done without that much money,
right?
They already know. They give us money, it's over.
And particularly when we've been locked out of things, particularly sports or entertainment or whatever, then we come in and
we
dominate. So it's that could be it. What's next? What's next on the list?
So funding, we're not part of the same clubs.
For sure, network is everything.
We're behind on networking. Even the ones of us that are great at networking, we're still not on the same level.
Right.
Still behind.
Right.
So networking is big, and the third thing is, no matter how much we read, because I read every morning. No matter how much we read, no matter how much we network, we still don't know the game the way they know the game.
Right. So just knowledge. I also think sometimes, unfortunately, I don't know if you agree with this. Culturally, I wonder, is it part of our culture to talk about the game as much as we talk about some of the other things?
What do you mean? Give me an
Like the
example.
grind. Like I found that, like when I was in graduate school, and I would come home. I would go to UVA, Charlottesville on the weekends, and I would come home, and I would find that, and I was one of two black people in my whole cohort, right? And it was like 30, and it was all men except for one woman, right? And so it's basically 28 black men, 28 white men, and an Indian girl, and two black people, right? And I would come home on the weekends to my friends, my circle, and I didn't have anyone to share all the knowledge that I was getting. You know, we don't have those type of in our everyday
Yep.
conversations. It's not really a part of it. And have you experienced that
Oh,
as an
of
entrepreneur?
course. And then it's like, you're a sellout, or you think you're better than
Right,
everybody else,
right.
or yeah. I mean,
How do you deal with it?
well, I think I think history shows in the black community we've had a crabs in the bucket mentality,
For sure.
and every time I think we're coming out of it, I look up and something happened. I'm just like, we still.
We still here. We
We
still doing
there.
this?
So it's like the fight. So to your question, top three, what I should have did was the internal fight. Like we're trying to fight and learn the
Yeah.
game, but we're still fighting each other.
Sheena, this has been dope.
Appreciate you.
One love. That's it, man. That's a wrap.